So from the last video, I talked about the 3 areas that I want to improve on my illustrations. Now we're going to go on to the complement phase, which is the area that I think I did very well, which will be the process of making illustrations and the practice routines that I have. So we'll talk through them. First of all, for the process of making illustrations, after you have a rough idea on what you want to do, what character you want to draw, you will start looking for the reference, right? So you start looking for it. And before you actually start sketching out the character, I think the small draft will really benefit you a lot. So what you do is that, let's say this is the normal size of your canvas. You make a teeny tiny illustration, roughly this size, small, very tiny. And what you will do is that you will make a small art of what you're gonna draw, so that you will have a better image on what your end result is gonna be like. So this is how I did it. I made a teeny tiny one over here and then messed up the rendering, which became like this. I really love it. So that was the end result over here. So after that, you start the the draft and the sketch, you draw it out, and then you start fill it with the base color. For the base color wise, I'm still not skillful enough to find my own colors yet. So I just found the reference and try to copy out, just copy and paste the color. But I think over time, the skills will improve, and eventually I don't need to do this cheat method anymore. Then going on to the shadings, this is called 2 values, where you say set a rough light source, and then you go on to shade out the area that is under the shadow. So after that, you combine both together, and I'll show you the power of this method, okay? So this will be like over here. So we have the combined. No, we don't have the combined yet. So normally what you have is the, what's it called? The base color, which is on normal layer over here, and the shadings over here, right? And the below, there's a base grayscale underneath. So what you do is that on the base color, instead of putting it as normal layer, you put it as multiply. Here we go. Then the trick is that you can change the color of the shadings. So let's say if I want it to be less saturated, more saturated, I could change the hue of my shadings, or I could make it even darker, less dark, like this. And for the light area, so for the light tones, for the light tones, these areas, you can also change colors as well. So you could change it into like a bit of bluish, green, the orangey. Can increase the saturation, reduce the brightness, increase the brightness. So with this method, you will be able to adjust your own shading colors over here until something you're satisfied with. Then you go on to the rendering. So during this phase, you will have some final trials and errors in terms of the shading colors. Then after that, you're more likely to be locked in and you can't change it anymore, unfortunately. So going on, you add on to the background color. For this background color, I trialed it over the small draft phase. I tried it over here. Then going on to the rendering phase of the illustrations, you start small. You start with the small renderings, which is over here. There's a tiny color changes over here. I see that. I try my best, but it doesn't look as significant as I want it to be. A bit of textures over to the armor, some blushes around the cheek, tears, some brush strokes around the hair. Yeah. Then going on to the big shade, what you want to do is that you will set the general tone towards the illustrations. So over here, you put it as multiply layer, then choose, again, choose whichever color you want, but generally quite light. Then you shade it. Again, you can also change the color as well, change the hue, change it. If you want it to be darker, you can also do that as well. So that's what happened over at step 7. Then at this point in time, I started to add in the light source, which will be the blue light from her head and the wrists. And with that, you will consider the reflection of light. So where the light is going to be bounced towards. So from her head, doesn't really bounce that much. But for her wrists, the light will be spread onto her chest, the shoulder plate. So that's what happened over here. And you will start to consider the texture of the object. I tried my best to add in more color changes, but unfortunately, I didn't do really well. You could see a bit of greenish color over here, but that's how much I could do for now. I'll try to learn more about the color palettes and add in more of these vibrant colors into the illustrations. But that's what overall happened. It started to add in the final details towards it, the light zones over here, some reflective lights over here as well. That's what I did. So overall, that's the process of making the illustrations in a more systematic way. For me, it's quite easy to follow because it makes sense. And another thing that I learned is this. So for each week, I have an aim, or not a week, but each period of time, I have an aim of my focus. So for this month, my aim is to focus on the chest, heads, eyes, hair, and the color rendering technique. So the practices I do is mainly focusing on these things and spread it towards form capturing, perspectives, as well as colors. And another thing I added onto my drawing routine is one illustration per week. And this helps build up some time where you could examine your own skills and stop using, oh, I'm still practicing as an excuse. The start of this journey was painful, man. It was horrible. Look at this. 2024, September 15. That was the first day on Sunday when I decided that I actually have to make at least something each week. it could be a small trial, it could be an actual illustrations, but anything. And I thought it would be easy until I made this. This was supposed to be a value illustrations that I practiced probably 3 days prior to this. The only thing I need to do was to recall what I drew. But this is bad. This is bad. So that's when I realized that, okay, I actually really need to take it more seriously and take the drawing even more seriously than what I used to do. Need to start making some illustrations and go on the field and try it out. So the week after, I made this just to test out the crazy brushstrokes. But if you look closer, the big areas, there's not much details in it either. These areas, the face still looks a bit unrealistic, like half realistic, half unrealistic, a bit in the middle, quite cringe. Then the next day, I noticed the minor color changes when trying to copy out Tiger Woods' clothes. Then about a week ago, oh no, or 2 weeks ago, I made this illustration. You can see that the line art still hasn't improved yet. But the tiny color changes over here has been implemented, and the perspectives of the head in different angles, it's becoming a little bit more easy. Then finally, this is this week. Overall, this took 5 hours from the start of draft, so sketching phase. I didn't include the small trial phase, but overall it took about 5 hours. But you can see that by forcing yourself to use what you learned and make something once a week, this puts you on the spot. It trains your skills in a more practical way. So you draw something, oh, it doesn't work, why it doesn't work. You reflect on it and then go on to the pathway. But overall, that's what I learned from this month. The reflection of my illustrations, I'm going to continue to focus on the foam capturing, colors, and copying more realistic illustrations to learn and expand my color palette usage. The drawing routines and consistency wise, still gonna focus on heads and chest above to continue to improve my skills on these illustrations. And hopefully next time, the next illustrations or good illustrations I make, I can proudly tell you that it actually works, guys. It works. But that's everything I learned, and that's my current skill levels. If you have any questions or different ways of making illustrations, or your drawing routine is different, feel free to comment below. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.